All right, welcome. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. I am live here with Patrick J. We have quite a few things to get into. We're going to talk about how Carson Wentz just seems so elated to be in Indianapolis, even though it was literally like a 10 to 15-second clip. But I don't think I've seen him this happy since probably 2017. Deshaun Jackson was just officially released as of just a few hours ago, and Doug and Carson were not talking since about 10 weeks of the season. So that's on Doug, in my opinion. What do you think about that, Patrick? Because if you're a franchise quarterback and your head coach are not talking for 10 weeks out of the season and it's causing your quarterback to play poorly, don't you think that would have been a good time to probably bench the quarterback that's not playing well, and then that gives you more time to go back to him, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's been handled really well. I mean, I think throughout the season it was pretty apparent that their relationship was pretty sour, and there were a couple week-to-week situations where you were kind of questioning what's going on and what kind of decision Doug Peterson was making as far as how he's handling the whole Carson Wentz situation when he wasn't playing well. So, yeah, I mean, like, especially with everything coming out, I mean, like you said, them not being on the speaking terms. I mean, I read that Carson Wentz didn't even participate in the exit interview with Doug Peterson. I mean, that says a lot. They've been together since Carson Wentz got in the league. So, yeah, it says a lot for sure.
Yeah, I kind of want to take this thing back a little bit because, honestly, and this is obviously hindsight is 2020, but and it may have been dysfunctional. It may have been a dysfunctional thing, and it probably is not really advisable to do this, but their best decision probably would have been to cut cords with Doug Peterson after 2017 and realize that the idea guy was actually Frank Reich, because there were reports that Carson got along with Frank better than anyone in the building at that point anyway, because of the DiFilippo reports. And the DiFilippo reports were this, which was Carson did not get along with DiFilippo from day one of his rookie season. And I understand that that's kind of not a thing that especially when Doug, I'm pretty sure he got like a 3-year contract to start with. And then I think they prolonged it. I'm pretty sure. I think they renegotiated after the Super Bowl, but you would think that that would be a good, I feel bad that they fucking made that mistake. Like, it's so you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hindsight for sure, but I mean, like, I don't want to take anything from like Doug Peterson himself too. I mean, like, after all, he did take you guys to win the Super Bowl, and then, I mean, if you look at him, he was 42-37. That's a hell of a record for the guy who's never been a head coach in the league, And then what were you guys like after the Super Bowl? You guys went to NFC divisional game and then the NFC wildcard game, right?
Yeah, we went 9-7.
Yeah.
And I think
9-7 again, I think. Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a record for the guy. I mean, I think the Eagles should have made the move a little bit earlier in the game. But I mean, I don't fault them for not making the move, especially after winning the championship. I mean, that's what happens when you have a good team. That's what happens when you have a successful organization. You're going to lose key pieces of your team. I mean, just look at Bill Belichick tree and then Andy Reid tree. Just see how many coaches are leaving each and every year to become a head coach because they are coming from a good organization. So I mean, that was bound to happen with Frank, and I mean, I'm excited for Carson. I'm excited for Frank. I mean, they're in a good situation over in Indianapolis. And then, hopefully the Eagles come out on top. But I mean, either way, if Carson plays well, if he stays healthy, you guys will end up with the first round pick. So, it was a deal that you had to have made. I mean, what sucks is the cap space. I mean, you're essentially paying almost 20%. You're almost paying essentially 20% of the cap space to a guy that's not going to dress up for you guys, basically.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. And here's the thing. Like, I know what you're gonna say, because you've told me this off air plenty of times. Dylan, pump the brakes, dude. Carson is gonna blow the league out of the water with Frank Reich back in his head, and you know it. You know it. You know he's going to do it. You like he got out of his fucking SUV and just already fucking looked like he was back to superstardom status. And like you can just I just we don't have to stay on that topic for very long. But like
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I'm a big believer in Carson Wentz, and to be honest with you, just like you said, like just seeing him happy like that does a lot for you. I mean, like just look at us, like when we're stuck into like a bad work situation, it
sure.
sucks. It sucks. And then, I mean, you can just look at a couple of the old Houston guys to see the difference just alone. I mean, like you see James Harden, he was pouting. He just was not having a good time, but then he gets traded to the Brooklyn Nets and he just tearing the league off again. You know, he's back to being himself. I mean, little bit less so. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, he's always produced, but I mean, look at him, go to Arizona Cardinals. He's always happy. And he's literally all about the team chemistry. I mean, he got his contract and he's just like playing out of his mind. I think that's going to happen with Carson Wentz too. I mean, he has a fairly good team around him. I mean, if they were able to be successful with Phillip Rivers under the center, I mean, imagine what they can do with Carson Wentz. And then, like I said, the only reason why I say pump the brakes with him is, he's been healthy.
He was coming off a bad year. He was coming off a bad year.
Right.
The healthy thing. Here's the thing. I do believe the healthy thing is a little bit overblown, only because he pretty much had played. He had played 100% of the snaps the last two regular season for the duration of the last two regular seasons, with the exception of the Clowney thing. But I do see that somebody did join, so please go ahead and leave any questions or comments or concerns in the live chat box, and we'd be more than happy to talk about them, whether it's a question for me or whether it's a question for Patrick J. I'm sure any of us will be more than willing to answer said question. Let's go ahead and move on. I want to talk about Deshaun Jackson because honestly, dude, I'm a little bit upset. I really am. I'm a little bit upset about this. You know me, and you know how much I loved having DJAX when we drafted him, and how much I loved having him before Chip Kelly just pretty much destroyed that entire team. And so when we brought him back, I was super stoked, absolutely super stoked. And then he gets injured in week one. Of last year's game and in week one of last year, and then only plays just a few games this year, and it almost seems as if he was never here. Tell me what you think about that. But real quick, let's go ahead and get to this. King, welcome, my man. Happy, is it Friday or is it Saturday? Am I losing my marbles? I think it's Friday. Happy Friday, King. It's time for younger talent to shine. Absolutely. Younger talent. Patrick, what do you think about that, man? Younger talent. Do you think we have some good talent on the team that's good enough to keep around? And obviously, we're thinking about like Jalen Reagor and guys like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it starts with the quarterback under center, Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's his time now. I mean, I know I told you to pump your brakes a little bit when you were getting excited, but I mean, you saw in that small sample size, he's got all the talent in the world. If he was able to do what he did last season with the weapons around him, I mean, and I'm saying this in a positive way for him, negative way for the weapons that he did have around last year. Imagine just adding a couple more weapons if you were to get a couple of the top wide receivers in this draft, just surrounding him with a good offensive line, give him a couple weapons, and he can definitely take this league by storm. So I definitely agree, but it's time to add to this team. It's time for the young talents to shine, but that means adding on to what you guys already have.
Sure. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And as you and I have talked about, and King, by the way, Patrick and I are going to do a mock draft today. We're going to do the PFF mock simulator, and it is not a service that you need to pay for, so there's no paid promotion going on here. I just want to throw that out there. Not that anybody really needs to know that, but just anyway. But yeah, no, Jalen. Yeah, I was getting excited about Jalen Hurts last night, and mainly I was overcompensating for the fact that I was still upset about losing Carson. But and King, I know you know this, and you and I have talked about this. King is we're both excited about Jalen for this fact is, and Patrick, you agree with this too, is Jalen did a phenomenal job with the small sample size that he had, with the fact that there was no off season last season. Really, they didn't have camp, they didn't have OTAs, they didn't have any of that. They had a couple weeks in Florida, I believe. He had a couple weeks in Florida to practice with Jalen Reagor and John Hightower and Quez Watkins, and I'm pretty sure Deshaun Jackson was a part of that list. Unfortunately, he's not going to be here, obviously, anymore. But you know, it goes to show with an off season this season, and hopefully they get it. He could make leaps and bounds, man, with those extra reps. So I know there was a report that some of the GMs said that, you know, there were about 500 reps that were being missed. You know, just with the loss of this past off season. So I mean, yeah, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge, and I'm excited. And I don't think that they need to go quarterback. I know that some of us are thinking that they might need to go quarterback, but I don't think that they really need to do that. I think that they can bring in quarterback competition elsewhere. What do you say? What do you say, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about quarterback or cornerback?
Quarter. Sorry.
Yeah, quarterback. I think this is time for you guys to move forward with Jalen Hurts. I feel pretty strongly about that. I think he is the Eagles quarterback of the future. I would like to surround him with a little bit more of established guys, as a backup who can really do more of the behind the scenes kind of thing. So I don't necessarily think you would have to get a competition for him, but more of a veteran quarterback who can be a mentor, who can do a lot more of like be on the sideline, with the iPad, just kind of go over the plays with them, more of a mentor for him than anything. So, but I'm all on board with Jalen Hurts train at this point.
What? Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And what's your take on King? King says Marquise Goodwin. What's your take on Marquise Goodwin, Patrick? I mean, Marquise Goodwin, obviously, that was a phenomenal under the radar trade by Howie Roseman with the 49ers during the draft. And really stoked. I was really stoked to see both Marquise and Deshaun on the field at the same time. Thought that would have been a really freaking, dynamic duo to have there with a young Jalen Reagor, but took the year off due to COVID and was having a new little one adding a little one into the family, I believe. Do you think that they let him go, or do you think he's gonna be brought back?
Any other year, I think he would stay. But just given the Eagles cap situation, he's one of the guys that's going to be easier to cut, which is really unfortunate to say. Eagles are still, even after releasing Deshaun Jackson, I think they're still $43 million over the cap. Cutting Alshon Jeffrey, Malik Jackson should be fairly easy. Marquise Goodwin's one of those guys I would be hesitant to cut just because he has so much talent. But that's $4.2 million that you could save. It's hard, man. It's hard. But if I had to guess anything, I would say he's going to get cut. But he's one guy that I'd be hesitant out of the four guys that I just mentioned that I wouldn't want to cut necessarily,
Yeah. It's definitely going to be hard because I don't think he's that up there. I don't think he's that long in the tooth, comparatively when it to like Deshaun or Alshon. I think Marquise was 29 when we traded for him, but I think he came into the league at 23, if I'm not mistaken. But so he still had a few years. He still had a few years left. It was just some of the injuries, obviously, that kind of plagued him a little bit, and obviously him taking the year off. I'm hoping that he is a last resort release. Honestly, there are guys like you said. There's Alshon and Malik, and you and I were talking about this. They did restructure both those guys' contract to make it more release friendly for both those guys. So I see both those guys being gone. And King, me and Patrick are going to talk about some possible, guys that we can add as far as prospects are concerned, due to the fact that we are probably going to release Malik Jackson. So we'll go ahead and talk about that as well. But yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that I do not want to release. I'm trying to think if there's any other. Well, isn't it back up to like nine? Isn't it back up to like 73 right now with the trade of Carson? Not
Uh,
43.
it's 43. They're 43 over the cap. That's just going straight off the over the cap, which is the most updated numbers right now. So including all the dead cap space and everything, I think they're 43 over. So I mean, for them to add to the team, I mean, they're gonna have to do some maneuvering for sure. And then I mean that includes, hopefully, I'm not saying hopefully because I do really appreciate Jason Kelsey as a player, but I mean if he retires, that's going to be helpful for the Eagles. Maybe
Sure.
maybe restructuring some contract, like Lane Johnson's a big one. Fletcher Cox is a big one. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, Fletcher Cox's cap number is $23 million. Lane Johnson's at 17. Brandon Graham's at 17. So I mean, there's a lot
So
of guys
he's
taking a lot of home.
definitely. And Football King, welcome, my man. Happy Friday. For some reason, I think it's Saturday. It's okay. Welcome to the stream, my friend. He says Eagles have to save cap space more than anything. Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's kind of what we're brushing on right now. And speaking of Brandon Graham, Patrick, he's just one of those guys that I think that we're going to have to cut as well, and that's probably going to be another one that's probably going to be even tougher than the Marquise Goodwin, just because obviously we don't really have ties to Marquise Goodwin as far as, city, emotionally, to the city and shit like that. But with Brandon Graham, he's been a underachiever, or not underachiever, but he's been an underdog overachiever stud since we drafted him back in 2010. So that's going to be a tough loss, but definitely he's probably one that does need to go just on the onset of this rebuild in Philadelphia.
Well, the Brandon Graham, it's a little bit tougher for him because I mean, unlike other guys, I mean, you wouldn't be actually saving a whole lot of money by cutting him outright. So, if anything, restructuring might be the better way to go. Just because how his contract's set up, I mean, I think restructuring is better. And I mean, I saw something crazy. I mean, I know the Eagles have underperformed this last year, but I think he was actually the only player on your roster that made the Pro Football Focus's top 101 players of 2020. So,
Right.
yeah, that's a tough cut if you were to cut him. So,
well, yeah, no, and the reason being is Brandon Graham was tied for the lead in sacks. I think midway through the season, he was on pace to have his best sack total year, but he kind of the media said, I hated this, dude. I fucking hated this because the media started asking him about it, and then I was like, oh no, please don't fucking jinx this shit. And immediately, like he started fucking trailing off. I was like, no, of course, this happens to a Philadelphia defensive lineman where they start trailing off because the media fucking started to ask him about it. Like that only happens to Philadelphia Eagles, dude. It doesn't happen to a JJ Watt. It doesn't happen to a Khalil Mack. It doesn't happen to all these other fuckers that are out there. But I do want to talk about this though. Let's go ahead and jump back to the release of Deshaun Jackson real quick. Do you think that makes it even more valid for the Philadelphia Eagles to go and get a Devontae Smith, a Jamar Chase, maybe even a Kyle Pitts? We haven't brushed on Kyle Pitts that much, but I'd like to talk more about him, and we will. Because you know how much I love him and I've fallen in love with Kyle Pitts. Do you think it's much more valid for them to take one of those guys now that Deshaun Jackson's out the window, now that Marquise Goodwin's probably going to be gone too? I'm sorry, King. What do you say, Patrick?
I mean, you know how I feel about this. I mean, I'd be all down for going cornerback route with number 6. But yeah, those two top guys, man, Jamar Chase and
so you saw
Devontae
my
Smith.
mock though.
Yeah, dude. Here's the thing. If you gave me the pick, I mean, given Eagles cap situation and then just how their roster's laid out, dude, like I don't know, man. I'd be hard pressed to pass on one of those two guys, and I know they'll be available, and Kyle Pitts will be available. And then I am telling you now, you guys are not going to have Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Marquise Goodwin, and either Zach Ertz or Jason Kelsey's not going to be with your team. Having having that 6th pick and just guaranteeing that at least one of those guys of the Pitts, Chase and Smith is going to be available, dude, it's going to be hard to pass that up. I mean, only guy that I might pass one of those guys up for is Penei Sewell, just to have an offensive tackle like that. But I don't know, man. I think you could get a decent cornerback in the second round. But it'll be really hard for me to pass on those guys, especially given the cap situation.
So here's the thing. And you and I have talked about this probably hours on end. I have no problem going with a cornerback or a linebacker at pick 6. I'm telling you, Howie Roseman turns into like I feel like there are preschoolers smarter than this guy when it comes to draft day. Like he turns into a preschooler on draft day where he doesn't make the right decision. And that's why I cannot commit to a cornerback at pick 6 or even a linebacker. Micah Parsons, I think even King would agree with you is, and a lot of Eagles fans would agree with you, is Micah Parsons would be phenomenal at pick 6. I think a lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans would absolutely love Micah Parsons at pick 6, or Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley, any one of those defenders there at 6. But
here's my thing though. If you were to go with Micah Parsons, I get it. But if you were to go with a cornerback route like Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley, and you know how highly I feel about those guys, is in your wide receiver room after all these anticipated moves get made, who do you have left? You know, who's anchoring the position? Jalen?
No.
Well, exactly. And if you were to go to your cornerback room, at least you got Darius Slay, which is, it's easier for you to draft a guy in the second round and to put him opposite Darius Slay, in my opinion.
Of course.
Rather than
I want to say, but I want to say this is I just don't see them passing up Sewell if Sewell falls.
No, for sure. That's one guy that I would pass everybody up for. But
yeah, right. No, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if they take Surtain at 6 and Howie Roseman blows Eagles fans like out of the fucking water, it'd be absolutely glorious. Like, I think I might, I'll be really happy. I'll just say that. But like, the thing is this is I think that they're preparing themselves to take a Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. I think they're really doing that. Here's my point. Here's my point about this, though. And you and I have talked about this. With that new third round pick that we have, Ohio State Buckeye Shaun Wade is gonna be I've fallen in love with this guy. He's gonna be a good grab in that third round.
No, I mean, I honestly think you can even get an amazing cornerback who can play opposite Darius Slay in the second round. I mean, you're looking at guys like Thomas Graham Jr. from Oregon. He's going to be available there when you guys pick at 38, 37. Right? I mean, there's going to be guys out there that's available. I think the drop-off in receivers after those, like I said, the top 5 guys down is much more steeper than the cornerbacks after those top 2 guys. So sure. I think we can all agree that there are top 2 cornerbacks in this draft, and there are the top 2 wide receivers in this draft. But then I think, like I said, that drop off between the quarterbacks isn't as steep as a wide receiver. So I think it'll also bring the excitement back to Philadelphia. I mean, that city needs it, especially after the season that you had, especially trading away Carson Wentz. I mean, Jalen Hurts brought that excitement over. And I think I saw Lane Johnson's Twitter. He did tweet out saying that everything's going to be okay. To give that reassurance to everyone, the fandom, and to the entire league, I mean, there's nothing like it than drafting an exciting player like Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith. They're the exciting guys. They're going to come in and instantly give the team and the entire city a boost too. So, I mean, I would go that route personally. And then I'm not always endorsing the sexy pick, but I mean, in this case, I think I would go wide receiver here. And then, like I said, I don't think there's as deep of a drop off in the cornerbacks in the second round from the first 2 guys.
Sure. Yeah, no, of course. And King says they're going to take a QB. Patrick, you and I have talked about this. This is the fear. This right here is the fear. And I don't want to say it's the fear of most, because here's the thing, and you and I, and it's a great proposition that you bring up, King. You and I were talking about this last night, Patrick. Is I could see them going Justin Fields if he falls. I could see the Falcons taking Zach Wilson. But here's the thing. Here's what I'll say about this. Like, Patrick, I know that you're not sure about the Jets taking a quarterback, but I could see them taking either Justin Fields or Zach Wilson. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yep. I'm actually that second pick, like I said, is going to be used on the quarterback. I'm not sure if it's going to be for the Jets or if they're going to trade back, but I'm almost certain that's going to be taken as a quarterback right there. So the first 2 picks, I'm almost sure that it's going to be a quarterback.
Right. Yeah. And so there you go. And so we got Trevor Lawrence at 1. Let's just say it's Justin Fields for the Jets at 2, and then it's Kyle Wilson. I keep thinking of Kyle Wilson. It's not. Zach Wilson. Yeah, he's a cornerback. Is he still in the league? Yeah. I don't even know if he's still in the league.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Zach, here's the thing.
I go through my mock. I go through my mock. I'm like, okay, Kyle Wilson. It's like, no, dude.
Out of the top 5 picks, I mean, this is the reason why I feel so strongly that one of those top guys, like, Kyle Pitts, Penei Sewell, 2 cornerbacks and 2 wide receivers, you guys are going to have a field day picking between what you like. The reason why I feel so strongly about it is because out of the 5, I guarantee you the 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 5. How it's laid out, Jaguars, the Jets, and the Falcons, they're all teams that could potentially get a quarterback, but even if one of them don't, I feel like a team like the Broncos or the Panthers, they're going to move up and take the quarterback up there too. So I'm almost certain Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Justin Fields are all going to be gone by pick 6. It's just a matter of which team, in my opinion.
Right. And so at that point, it's like they're definitely not going to take Mac Jones at 6.
Absolutely not.
So yeah, you don't.
I mean, that's like the best case scenario. I mean, I hope that that's just how it's laid out, so the Eagles don't have to make that fatal mistake.
Right.
I mean, I hate to be that guy that's like saying some strong stuff like this, but I mean, that'll be a disastrous move if Eagles spent their first 3 rounds of picks on a quarterback, especially given their cap situation and when they need to utilize these drafts to actually fortify their team,
Yeah, no, exactly. And Football King says QB later, but not early. And we're going to talk about that. And King says Justin Fields if they get a QB. And I look, I love Justin Fields. I think that the one thing I'll say about Justin Fields is we all know what Howie Roseman saw in Jalen Hurts when he drafted Jalen Hurts. Howie Roseman's been regretting the fact that he didn't draft Russell Wilson when he had the chance to back then. He misinterpreted the fall for Russell Wilson, and he's publicly come out and admitted that. Here's my thing about Justin Fields is if Howie gets that in his head about Justin Fields, just like he did with Jalen Hurts, and there's similarities, then it could be Justin Fields at 6. That's all I'm saying. That's the only reason. That's the only thing that I think that would validate a move like that, based off of the conversations that you and I have had, Patrick. That is my only worry. That is my only worry. But as far as what Football King said, QB later, but not early. I like the dude. You've seen my mock, Patrick. I like, and now granted, he was the best quarterback on the board in my mock at that point in time in the 6th round. QB out of Texas. What's his name? I can never pronounce his name right.
Remind me, I don't know.
There's so many fucking names that I just can't pronounce. And honestly, I wish I was Siri. Actually, no, she can't pronounce names for shit. I wish I was Google Translate.
The Texas A&M guy? Who are we talking about?
No, he's University of Texas. University of Texas quarterback. Hold on. I got it.
It's the Sam Ehlinger?
Yeah, Sam Ehlinger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got an A+ grade for taking that guy in the 6th round.
Don't rely on that. Great, but
Yo, I'm gonna
I mean,
rely on it if I
y-
want to, Patrick.
you're gonna have a lot of guys that's gonna be available later on, dude. Like I'm telling
I
you,
know.
like it'll
Is
be a detrimental
McCaffrey?
mistake.
Yo, is McCaffrey's brother coming out of this draft, or is that or did he stay for another year?
I haven't seen anything about him coming out. I do have a scouting report on him that I wrote down, but think he, I don't think he's
Let's.
coming out this year.
I want to hear. Yeah, let's hear the scouting report, because here's actually, and the reason why I want to hear this, even though he's probably staying for another year, is because, guys, I think that the Eagles' best bet is to bring in a guy who is like 26, 27, who can do enough to compete with Jalen Hurts, but is clearly not better than Jalen Hurts. And there's nobody better than that. Than it might just be Marcus Mariota, Patrick.
No,
it might just be Marcus Mariota. But let's hear the scouting report for Dylan McCaffrey, because he's not going to be like a first rounder next year. And
yeah, let me pull it up in my long list. I wasn't ready.
What do you guys think about King Football King? We got two kings in the house. I like it. What do you guys think about Marcus Mariota possibly coming to the Eagles to compete? I mean, hey, it might not be a bad move. It might not be a bad move. He didn't play horribly this past season.
I mean, you need a veteran quarterback for especially a guy like Jalen Hurts. You know, like
Marcus Mariota is a smart guy,
right? Exactly. He's a cerebral guy, and then he has potential. Honestly, I mean, if you were to give me him as a backup quarterback, I mean, I take that any day. Like as a guy that can, I mean, I say this like so negatively, but as a guy that can hold clipboard and honestly like pick apart the like opposing team's defense, I mean, you need that as a backup quarterback. You know, they do a lot more of the stuff in the back of the stuff that's not shown on the like stat sheet.
Yeah, no, he would be a substantial guy to bounce shit off of, in my opinion. So no, I completely agree. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, like you do need that for sure. You do need that like a veteran presence in there. I mean,
while you're pulling that up, I want to talk a little bit of about Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma. So the reason why, and I did multiple mocks, but I made sure that I got that guy in the third round. So it wasn't like he fell to me, I just took him each and every time. I made sure that I got him in the third round. So I want to say this about Creed Humphrey. He's listed as a center, but has the versatility to play any of the inside offensive lineman positions. Now, granted, if Jason Kelce does not retire, and this is to anybody in the chat who's listening, and Patrick, I'll ask you to comment on this in a second. If Jason Kelce does not retire, we can move Creed Humphrey to either guard spot. Now, granted, I do think Brandon Brooks will be back for another year, but he could probably play a lot better than Isaac Samalo at the left guard spot, and then just switch him back over to center once Jason does finally make that exiting decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what do you think about
Creed Humphrey? I mean, he's going to be a starting center in this league at some point. I think he's a left-handed center, which is very rare. I mean, like I don't know what that necessarily does as a left-handed center. I know it's not like a huge deal, but I know there's like a couple things like depending on like your frame and stuff like that does matter. But he's really smart guy from everything that I've heard. He knows how to use his frame. He's really strong dude. He has like a really good base. He can jostle with the interior defenders in the right scheme that he can really just be that starting center who has a right smarts who can call out, opposing team's defense. He's going to be a leader of the team for sure. So I'm not 100% sure as far as like his ability to play guards, but I mean, like he does have the size. He's a bigger guy. I think he's 6'4". I think obviously he weighs like 315. Coming from pro style offense in Oklahoma. I mean, like he should be as ready as anybody to come out and play.
So that's my other big thing too, is he probably has ties to Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Yeah. And so when I went into the draft, especially when it got towards the later rounds, I looked for that. And Creed Humphrey, I read the quick bio because I'm pretty sure Pro Football Focus only did the breakdowns for guys up through the third round. When going through that mock draft. And so yeah, I absolutely loved what I read. I loved the breakdown, what I read, and phenomenal prospect, I think, in my opinion. I think it would be a steal. I honestly think that would be their best bet. I think that would be a great pick for them. So I think I'm close to orchestrating a mock that I can pretty much lock in, that would satisfy my wants. Basically. It's not crazy. It's not like Madden. Like it's not like, it's not like a Madden thing.
Here's the thing. Let's do this. Just impromptu, like I'll start. Let's take turns. I'll draft one. You do two, and we'll go down to Eagles, and we'll see who's left. And then just be smart about it. Just don't be doing this as an Eagles fan, but just do it as someone that you're looking at the best interest of that team, right?
Sure. And we have Howie Roseman as Howie Roseman as a GM, so
right. We'll do this like later on. We'll do it more in depth one later on, but just like really rapid fire. Number one.
We're gonna do. I definitely want to do the Pro Football Focus thing. I think that'd be cool for the two kings in here. Fucking
right. I'm just saying let's just see how the first round plays out. If it goes up to us, first round Jaguars. I draft Trevor Lawrence for sure. Jets. What do you take?
I'm taking Zach Wilson.
Okay. As Miami Dolphins, I'm taking Penei Sewell here. Just a guy that can defend. Protect Tua. You can't go wrong here. So I take Sewell.
Cool.
Falcons at 4.
Falcons at 4. I'm taking Justin Fields. They need to replace Matt Ryan. They might not be this high again in the near future. So no better time than to take your replacement for Matt Ryan.
Okay. Say here. With the 5th pick as a Bengals, they already have their franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. They do have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. I say they go Kyle Pitts here instead of the receiver to give him a weapon. So at Eagles at 6, here's the thing. Now, even just like this rapid fire, just by looking at their needs, you see 3 quarterbacks are gone. Kyle Pitts is gone. Sewell is gone. So going back to everything we talked about in the first place, what do you have left? Is you got Micah Parsons and then 2 cornerbacks and 2 receivers that we talked about.
Patrick, you go Devontae Smith here.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You take Jamar Chase or Devontae Smith here. That's what they got to do. They can't. That's what they have to do.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. You know how I feel about Asante Samuel Jr. Now, I could see the Chiefs or somebody like that taking this guy late in the first round. But you got so many others too. You got Eric Stokes. There's quite a few cornerbacks you can take at pick 37. There's a Sean Wade we can get with our 3rd round pick. These guys are gonna be good guys. And you and I will get into talking about that later, as we've talked about before. King wants Marcus Mariota, Patrick. How do you feel about that? He likes it.
I'm all for it. Like I said, he's a cerebral guy. He's got what it takes. I think I hate to say this about a player, but I think his future in the league is as a backup quarterback who's more than capable of coming into the game if a starter goes down to control and to manage the clock. But I think his brain, I think he's a future coach in this league. I think he can really learn a lot from I think Jalen Hurts can really learn a lot from Marcus Mariota. He's a guy that's going to really dissect the playbook and then also, like I said, call out the opposing team's defense. He's, once Jalen Hurts comes back to the huddle, not the huddle, to the sideline, Marcus Mariota is one of those guys that can really just go over the previous plays and really tell them, hey, this is what I saw. This is what you did. This is what you can do better.
Sure.
I think he's honestly one of the better quarterback options you got out there. Marcus Mariota all the way.
Nice. So what do you think of I want to talk about some of these guys that do have links to Jalen Hurts. So Jalen finished his collegiate at Oklahoma, right?
Correct. The same lineage as Baker, Kyler, Jalen
Yeah, yeah,
Hurts.
yeah.
Yeah. They produce a quarterback every year, dude. That's insane.
I know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then where did he come out of before? I forgot.
Where what?
Where did Jalen transfer from?
Jalen was a transfer from Alabama, I
Alabama.
think.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Which means okay, so that make okay. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. He's got ties to Devontae Smith. Oh man, it's done. That's the pick. There's no like unless they want to fuck this guy like they fucked Carson, like there's no doubt about it. There can't be.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
Devontae Smith is one of those guys that his draft stock just soared towards the end of the season. And just you go back and watch him play, and just this guy's just a physical specimen. I mean, like there are some people out there that's like slandering him and picking him apart, just like we did I mean, last time we did that to a receiver was DK Metcalf, and like see what he's doing right now. I mean, Devontae Smith is gonna be a stud.
Yeah, speaking of DK Metcalf, and don't jump all over me because I'm not jumping the gun. I'm just saying, and he's still a sophomore. So you know where I'm going. But
go ahead, finish it.
Terrence Marshall.
All right. I mean, I talked about it. I told you how I feel about it.
I know. But
you made a ridiculous statement.
We talked about it in comparison to TJ Vasher, which we will get there because I think that dude's gonna be a fucking stud.
Right.
But I like Terrence Marshall. Terrence Marshall's got some size. He's got some strength. He's got some speed. He could add a little bit more to his frame. So it's not a complete makeup for a DK Metcalf mistake. But could it be if the Eagles were able to get their hands on a Terrence Marshall? Could it have the potential to be? Now, I understand DK Metcalf. Don't even I'm just saying, could it have the potential to get there? Maybe 70%.
I mean, it's hard to compare him to DK Metcalf,
I said 70%.
Right. I mean, hey, man, LSU receivers, they got good track record. I mean, see what Justin Jefferson did. I mean, we're going to see what Jamar Chase. But this guy, I mean, this is a route that you go in the second round if you were to go defense in the first pick. If you were to pick one of the cornerbacks or even Micah Parsons at 6, I mean, then you do have a chance at the guy like Terrence Marshall Jr. at the second round, and this is a route that you go. He, like I say, he does have some frame to be filled in. I mean, I think he can still. He's only 20 years old, I think, but he's a versatile guy. He's got terrific size already. He's physical. He runs real good routes. He can run after catch, insane. But he does come with some injury concerns, and then he's not as menacing of a blocker. I'd say, which is pretty prominent in today's NFL games. But I mean, he's going to be a feature receiver at some point. He's second round to get a guy like this. I mean, I feel like he has a potential to be a steal, just like Justin Jefferson was.
Yeah, well, I mean, Justin Jefferson is one of those guys who will continue to haunt us until we make up for it.
Nobody saw that though. Justin Jefferson just came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. I mean, we knew that he was a good prospect, but we didn't think he'd make this kind of impact right away, though. And like everyone's defense.
Go back a few years for the Eagles fans' Twitter feeds or any of the social media, dude, and you will realize that all Howie Roseman needed to do the last 3 years was listen to the Eagles fans. It's all he needed to do, bro. That's all he needed to do. Like, draft DK Metcalf instead of JJ Arcega-Whiteside. We got Miles Sanders. That's great. Draft Justin Jefferson. Like, we actually thought it was going to be DK Metcalf instead of Andre Dillard at pick 16, and that still would have been a great pick.
Yep.
But then we all thought it was going to be Justin Jefferson instead of Jalen Reagor. Like, everyone thought it was going to be.
I mean,
That was
yeah,
the only-
that pick, I get it. I get it. Yeah,
yeah, well, that's every single year. So be glad that you don't have our GM.
I mean, dude, my both of my teams, in the NFC, the Cardinals are barely getting out of the cellar. We finally have a future, and then you know how it is with the Jets still. So
Right,
it's
right.
been a rough few years to be a Jets fan. So.
Do you think you guys have a shot at Deshaun Watson? And then after that, let's follow it up with a little bit of Stills out of West Virginia.
I think so. I mean, anybody with this high of a draft capital that the Jets are, I mean, we do have a shot at it. Jets do have couple things going for them. One is Deshaun Watson, like I said, wanting to go there for some reason. He did mention that as one of the teams that he'd like to go. Obviously, playing in a big city, I think that's an appeal of him, and just like you said, I think you mentioned it, just being able to turn around that franchise is like a big enough price for him. Jets do have, like I said, a lot of draft capital. They do have a second overall pick. I highly doubt that's going to go to the Texans for Deshaun Watson, but I mean, I trade second overall pick for Deshaun Watson. I mean, your second overall pick, if they use it on Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, you're getting like a lottery ticket. You never know if they're going to turn into a superstar, but if you can get a superstar franchise quarterback right away, you do it, and you trade more than that, in my opinion.
Sure.
And then we do have Keenan Williams, who was in a trade market last trade deadline too. So I mean, he could potentially be part of a trade package to go get Deshaun Watson. But I mean, yeah, I think we definitely do have a lot of avenues that we can search to get Deshaun Watson. Definitely a chance, but I'm not 100% sure if that's where he's going to end up in. I know the Panthers said they wanted to go all in on Deshaun Watson. I know the Broncos were mentioned in it. I mean, honestly, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, like 20 teams in this league should go for him. Yeah. And then, what was your second question? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna go ahead and do this. So one of the guys I'm really excited about, for anybody else in the stream who's listening, one of the guys that I'm really excited about is DJ Stills, out of defensive tackle out of West Virginia. And the reason why I want to bring this up is obviously because we're not sure about the fate of Javon Hargrave to go along with Malik Jackson. Guys, we know that they're set on rebuilding. So, Patrick obviously already talked on restructuring Fletcher Cox. They already restructured Fletcher Cox. They restructured Fletcher Cox in the middle of the season. But he will be a big cap hit. I'm not saying that they're going to get rid of Fletcher Cox, but look, it's time for us to start looking at defensive linemen. That is my point. So DJ Stills out of West Virginia, I like him. I like him a lot. What's your take on DJ Stills out of West Virginia, defensive tackle, Patrick?
DJ, that's Darius Stills, right? That you're talking about?
Yeah, Darius Stills. Sorry.
Yeah, Darius Stills. I mean, he's a senior. He's going to come out and be a contributor right away. I mean, he's coming out from West Virginia, who again, pro style football, which always helps in transition, especially for defensive guys. He's really quick. He's got leverage. He can, his motor is insane. I feel like he's just always coming out of the stance and just going after the guys right away. Mm-hmm. He's got good size. He's not the tallest guy in the world. I think he's just 6'1". I'll have to double check. But what I have written down here, I think he's 283 pounds. So he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he can still create penetration. I think his size, I mean, he definitely does have something to fill out in, but he can definitely be a guy that can develop into a starter. Sure. But right now, I mean, it'll be a good time. I mean, if the Eagles were to pick him up with a later round pick, I mean, it'll be a good time for them to do that, because he can contribute right away as a rotational guy. With his intensity and strength, but until he fills out, until he can really develop his game into the next level, I mean, I think it'll be a good place for him to be in the rotation with the guys that you just mentioned earlier.
Right. No, exactly. And you know what I was going to say is, I think a great high ceiling comp would be maybe a Michael Bennett. You see that?
Yeah.
High ceiling comp.
High ceiling for sure.
Well, Michael Bennett was a 5th round. I mean, here's the thing.
Michael Bennett, I mean, kudos to you guys for sure.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, I mean, like, Yeah, and that's the thing. Well, here's the thing, and I want to talk about the size a little bit too. Is we have defensive linemen playing at smaller sizes, Brandon Graham being one of them.
Right.
And so I mean, in a 4-3, it's kind of okay. You can get away with a guy who's like 6'2", 283. In a 3-4, not so much though.
Right.
You will get absolutely blasted. You will get
Right.
absolutely blasted.
For sure. I mean, then coming into NFL with those huge offensive tackles. I mean not tackles, like just the centers and guards. They're big bodies, man.
Yeah, but he's just one of those guys. Yeah, he's one of those guys that I think that could benefit you if you were able to get your hands on him in maybe the 5th, 6th round. You know, I think he could be a steal definitely at that point. Another guy that you definitely know that I want to talk about because I fell in love with him over the last 24 hours is Amari Gainer, linebacker Amari Gainer. In my opinion, this dude plays intense. He's a hard hitter. He's about the size of Darius Leonard, so he's a bit light. But Darius Leonard, did he lead the league in tackles again, or did he get close? Because he plays at 6 foot 215. Is that right?
Who?
Darius Leonard.
I don't exactly know what his measurements are, but I think
he plays light. But my point being is, I mean, he's all over the field.
Yeah, I know he didn't lead the league. I know it was Avery Williamson who led the league in tackles. I don't know who
was on the trade block.
No, I'm not sure exactly where he ended up in as far as like a tackle leaders.
Sure,
he was 10th. He was 10th.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, no. So yeah, he reminds me, and that would be another high ceiling pick as well, because obviously Darius Leonard coming out of college was the late first, early second prospect, and was just phenomenal.
Did Amari Gainer come out?
No, he's coming out. He's coming out this year.
Really? I thought he's like a couple years away. I didn't know that.
No, he's coming out. He declared this for this year's draft, so he's in.
Did not know that.
Yeah, he's definitely in. But he's one of those guys that is fast. He's quick. He hits hard, and so that's what I like. And yeah, maybe he does get a little bit. He does a little bit get caught up in his emotions, a little too much sometimes, and so it does cause him to overplay the ball sometimes. But with a little bit of coaching, I think he could be a solid contributor. Maybe one of those guys who could be a rotational guy, just like you were talking about when you were talking about Darius. But you know, I could see him possibly. I could see him possibly having a high ceiling too. Go check out both Kings. If both Kings are still in here, I know King Miro is still in here. Go check out Amari Gainer. And I'll leave the link in the fucking description.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if he was coming out. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Let's talk about our favorite guy that we want to talk about, who is listed as a 6th rounder right now, but shouldn't be a 6th rounder. TJ Vasher.
You do the talking on this guy, because
no.
Here's the thing. I'll chime in. You know, I'm not big on this guy. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, I'm not big on this guy at all, to be honest with you. But go for it. Give me your take.
You just broke my heart into a million pieces.
Why do you like him?
Okay, so TJ Vasher was the first wide receiver that I fell in love with out of this draft. Reason being is because he was the first one I looked at, obviously. He was the first one I looked at because the Eagles needed a big wide receiver. And I think we had just gotten done playing the Seattle Seahawks. So you can understand why. And I see TJ Vasher and I look him up, and he's 6'6". He is 215 pounds. He has the capability of going up and grabbing the contested catches. He's got decent speed. He does need to work on his route running a little bit, but he is a raw prospect. But he's got decent speed. He can make the contested catches. He's got a wide range. I see a lot of potential in TJ Vasher. I see him needing to add more muscle to his frame at 6'6", 215 pounds, but I see a lot of potential for TJ Vasher, and so that's why I like TJ Vasher, Mr. Patrick J.
I mean,
what do you think?
Here's the thing. I'm not, like I said, I'm not bullish on this gentleman, unfortunately, just because he's got size, and that's it. in my opinion, I don't think his game necessarily transitions over to NFL. I mean, I hope he proves me wrong, because I mean, from everything that I've seen, he's a good high character guy. He's a guy, like, his greatest strength is going to be his God-given, like, frame. He's lengthy. He's got an amazing height. He's got a ridiculous verticals, which creates his catch radius is insane, because he can just reach out with his long arm and just grab it. And so he's as explosive of a guy as possible. For a big guy, though, his hands are amazing. I mean, like, I'm not saying he's DeAndre Hopkins good, but he's got good hands. And going up against those NFL smaller defensive backs, I mean, he's going to have field day just going up and getting it.
Right.
For me, he's got legit stuff, but I don't think he has that speed necessarily to go up against those guys in the NFL level. He's not quick. He's not for a bigger guy. He's not very good at running after catch, in my opinion. He reminds me a lot of Hakeem Butler from Iowa State a couple of years ago.
Which isn't a bad comp. Yeah, and that's not a bad comp. Actually, Hakeem Butler is on the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Right, because they transitioned him to tight end, right?
Yeah, and hopefully they can do more. Doug didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Like, they did something and he was wide open and he made a mistake, but that's because Doug just wasn't fucking, like, he had no control over that team, and it started 10 weeks prior to the fucking end of the season, and we know that from the recent report that came out that him and his quarterback weren't fucking talking. I want to touch on this comment though real quick. I wouldn't mind Hakeem Butler comp. I really wouldn't. I think Hakeem Butler was pretty raw too, coming out of college, and he just needed somebody to take the time to work with him. Jason Wall says, Patrick, Jason Wall says, bro, you have fallen in love with a lot of guys this stream.
And I totally agree with Jason Wall. First of all, amazing profile picture with Jason right there, Jason Mask. But yeah, every time I talk to this guy, I feel like he's falling in love with a new guy, and I'm like, you can't do that. You can't draft everybody.
Hey, first off, there's a reason for this. Let me get to this. I wanted to come on this stream today, and I thought I could bring some positivity because we just traded Carson Wentz. But I went through some of the late round prospects. I went through some of the early round prospects, and I started to like some of these guys that I think could really contribute to the Philadelphia Eagles. That list obviously started off with Shaun Wade, cornerback Shaun Wade out of Ohio State. He is a cornerback safety hybrid. I think he would be a good chess piece for the Philadelphia Eagles to add. When I say I fall in love with them, dude, I'm kind of being hyperbolic, just a tad. It's all right. But I do like these guys for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Shaun Wade is definitely one of them. Who's another one that I said? I said Kyle Pitts, but I feel like that's the entire Eagles fandom world. Who else did I say? Oh, Amari Gaynor. Yeah, I like Amari Gaynor. Amari Gaynor kind of looks like he has the ability and potential to play all over the field. We haven't even gotten to everybody yet, Jason. I'm not even done. I'm not even fucking done because I've fallen in love with Javon Holland too. So there's just going to be a lot of love going on over the next couple weeks. So it's a little bit. I'm over exaggerating a little bit. I like these guys as chess pieces for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's pretty much it. So, but Patrick, I'll let you take this one from here. Talk to us about Javon Holland.
Who?
Javon Holland out of Oregon, safety cornerback Javon Holland.
Hello?
Patrick, Javon Holland.
Javon Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. He's a I'm big on Pac-12 guys just because of my connection with the Pac-12. So I watch a lot of those games, and then he's always one of those guys that I hate going up against. He's versatile. I feel like he's all over the field. Like the Ducks do a really good job of like using their players for their best of their abilities. So every time I see Javon Holland, I feel like, he's covering the X receiver one time, and he's like rushing the quarterback at one time, and he's just all over the field. He's a good leader. I believe he was captain this year, which tells a lot, in that Ducks team that have a lot of great leadership culture there. He's a great athlete. He's got a good body control. Like I say, he can be in a cover. He can rush a quarterback. It'll really give a lot of different defensive schemes an option with this guy. He can play in base. He can play in all kinds of scheme because of his versatility. He has all the skill sets in the world to become a starting safety in the NFL. So, I mean, I'm very high on him. I'm like, he's a tremendous athlete. And like I said, versatility in NFL it's a trait that's always underlooked on, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And he's one of those guys, and I can't say I've fallen in love with him yet. I'm not completely there yet, but Chaz Surratt is another one of those guys, Jason. And Jason came back and says he's been falling in love with Micah Parsons, but it seems like he might be a difficult guy to love with the character issues. That's a good point to bring up, I would say. I wonder how close him and Miles Sanders are. Maybe it's a teammate to teammate thing where they can keep each other in line. I don't know. I mean, there's not much to keep in line for Miles Sanders, but but here's the thing. Again, I just don't see Howie Roseman taking a linebacker at 6, so I don't think Micah Parsons is going to come to this team anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is one player that I do agree with Jason Waldo. He's one of those guys that I definitely did fall in love with. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a born ready Mike linebacker, and then I think he can go in there and just be a stud signal caller for any NFL defense, in my opinion. But I mean, the character issues is definitely a concern. I mean, there is a lot of reports that came out towards the end of last year as far as like his involvement in the fights and everything. And then, like I think you touched on it a couple weeks ago, as far as like the guys that came with character concerns.
Well, I mentioned, yeah, no, and that's a great point. And I mentioned Micah Parsons. I mentioned his character in comparison to guys like Vontaze Burfict.
Right.
Like he has better character than those guys.
No, for sure. For sure. Yeah. But I mean, like it's gonna hurt his draft stock. I mean, like Miami Dolphins, for example, they already came out and said they're potentially removing him from their draft board just because of this concerns. And then, like NFL teams are not stupid. They're gonna go in there and do some in-depth interviewing, to make sure that the character concerns are gone. When it comes to the Eagles, though, I mean, I doubt, like you said, I doubt they go linebacker route at 6, and then he's not going to be there in the second round. So
sure, yeah, no, absolutely. And King has a request, and he's right. We have not really gone into depth about Mr. Chase yet. Let's go ahead. And King says, "Don't forget about Jamar Chase." Patrick, take it away, brother.
I feel like if you listen to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I mean, I think I touched on Jamar Chase quite a bit, but another LSU guy, like I said, he's a tremendous athlete. He's relentless. He's a guy that can do everything for you. He's going to be a bona fide premier receiver. He can fight that 50-50 ball. He has some good speed. He can run 4.4, 4.5, which is not like a blistering speed in NFL, but he can always create space between him and some slower coverage. If he were to get into that kind of matchups, he hits open space and he can really turn on the jets and just separate himself from the defenders. He's got a good balance. He's elusive. He's really good after yards after catch from what he's shown us in the LSU days. If I have to pick him apart as far as the weakness is concerned, I mean he's not elite when it comes to toughness. He's not the strongest guy in the world. He does have, like I said, the speed to get open vertically, but and then he can break tackles and he can keep himself upright, but he's not necessarily the strongest guy when it comes to I did talk about 50-50 ball, but when it comes to contested catches, which is necessarily, you saw with the Hail Mary pass last year, how important that is for the premier receivers, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, that can all come down with it. But that's something that he can work on because his hands are so good. Like I said, he deserves a top 10 pick for sure.
This is why I don't want Jamar Chase, guys. This is why I don't want Jamar Chase at 6. Patrick just touched on it. I don't want any question marks with that fucking wide receiver at 6. None. Greg Ward Jr. is a solid guy. That we have. Travis Fulgham is going to be a solid guy that we have. Jalen Reagor is going to be better in Nick Sirianni's offense. Quez Watkins is going to be better in year 2. I'm a little unsure about John Hightower, but I don't want any questions with pick 6 if it's going to be a wide receiver. I want Devontae Smith if it's going to be wide receiver. Jason Wall comes in and says, and this is concerning Micah Parsons, Patrick. His biggest thing was the hazing. The reason why it's concerning for the Eagles is that we are going to have a really young team. You want solid culture guys with a young team. Go ahead and talk about that, Patrick. How important is that? I know how important it is, but Jason Wall is right. How important is it for the direction of a team that is rebuilding, especially when there's so much youth going on?
It's something that I'm gonna personally tie this into just because I'm not in the locker room, so I don't really am familiar with the football culture that goes on, but from just what I'm seeing, and I'm gonna tie locally here with a couple teams here in Phoenix, Arizona. Is first I'll start with is the Phoenix Suns. I know it's a different sport, but the Suns haven't made the playoffs in 10 years, and then just they were a young team. Obviously, just being a bad team, you get draft picks after draft picks, and the Suns are just full of younger guys. And then this was a team that nobody wanted to come to, even with the great weather, just because the culture just wasn't there. The Suns are off to a 17-10 start. They're going to be one of the playoff teams. That's hugely in part to the culture building that the front office did with not only with the coaching hire. So they did change the coaches just like the Eagles did. Bringing in a high-profile veteran like Chris Paul, and it's just a whole different mindset. The guys, they start, and it's like little things. They know how to handle themselves on and off the court, how to finish games, and then just a lot of little small intangibles like that. And then and then let me talk about the Cardinals too. The Kyler Murray gives a lot of credit to guys like Larry Fitzgerald, like Patrick Peterson, like Chandler Jones. That's been in the league for so long. I think Hassan Reddick actually said that too. As a rookie, when he came into a team with a lot of younger guys, but as they went on, they added a lot of veteran pieces who kept them grounded through all this time. That's super important it's because it goes beyond just the coaching staff. You can have the greatest coaching staff in the world. It's the players that go out there and play. It's the players that they talk to afterwards.
It's the difference between nightclub and, contracting COVID and staying 20 minutes after practice.
Exactly. So you go into a locker room, and Eagles have that. You go into a locker room and you see Fletcher Cox standing there, you're not gonna mess around with it. You go in there to a locker room where Larry Fitzgerald is standing, and you see how hard he works. You see the amount of work that he puts in. As a rookie, you have to follow suit. You're not gonna just if a guy, Hall of Fame guy like that's already doing it, you're not going to just go back and not do it. Tom Brady, as much as I hate the guy, he puts in his work. He's done it. He's already a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he still has a drive. That culture is that super essential. And then I'm not saying Micah Parsons is a guy that's gonna. I mean, we don't know. We don't know him. I don't know him personally. It's all I'm seeing is the reports that's coming out, and I know it's a concern.
Sure.
And
he's not gonna be. He's not gonna be like. He's not gonna be like death on ears or anything like that.
right.
But yeah, I think the thing is do you want to add that to a youthful locker room? Just the possibility of that. And my answer is this to Jason. No, I don't. I think regardless of how talented he is, and look, if he pans out, and look, a perfect example, right? Joe Mixon is a perfect fucking example of him doing something really fucking stupid. Would have been a first round running back, and arguably the best running back of that class. And he panned out and he turned his shit around. And I had belief, honestly, and look, I'm completely against what he did. I want to say that perfectly clear, make that perfectly clear. But I had belief because he came out and said all the right things, did all the right things, and it was a video from when he was a lot younger, but he turned his shit around. So Michael Parsons could have that same trajectory for his career, but honestly, to answer your statement, Jason, is at this point in time, with the way that the Philadelphia Eagles franchise is so fragile right now, I'm not willing to risk it. I don't want to do it. I'd rather bring in a young playmaker who has ties to Jalen Hurts, and that it would be Devontae Smith, or even, a guy who will be serviceable for the guy for the franchise quarterback, like a Penei Sewell. So
I will tell you this though, Jason, is that I totally believe if Micah Parsons, I mean, this character could be nothing, to be honest with you. I mean, we all make mistakes. It could be just something that just a wrong decision at the time. But I totally believe that if he were to put everything together, he could be he's gonna be Luke Kuechly kind of guy for sure. He's gonna be a stud.
Yeah. No, definitely, absolutely. And he does have that potential. Let's go ahead and move on. King says, watch Jamar Chase go with Justin Jefferson and the Vikings. That'd be funny. Good for them if they do it. Yeah. Football King says, can you give me who you'd pick in the first 3 rounds? Yeah, no, I did put this in the live chat, but I guess I'll go ahead and announce it to everybody. So I have this, and this is kind of what I want. I want Devontae Smith at 6. I want Asante Samuel Jr. at 37. And this is going to create a discussion point. Chaz Surratt, linebacker out of North Carolina, for the Eagles, with that first 3rd round pick at 84.
I'm not familiar with Chaz Surratt, so let's talk to me about him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Chaz Surratt was a quarterback, changed positions to play middle linebacker, and did a phenomenal job. It was his first year at middle linebacker, but it plays instinctively, plays aggressive, plays all over the field, really does play like a man possessed out there, but does it smartly. Doesn't really get the emotions get a hold of him too much, like some of the other linebackers that we've talked about, and has a great feel for the position. So, I mean, he's got only 1 year under his belt. That's the only thing that's really knocking him, honestly. If he was a sophomore and he transitioned to middle linebacker, we would probably be talking about a first round, maybe early 2nd round linebacker right now.
Okay.
Jason went ahead and said, and character and poise is why I think Jalen Hurts is really good to succeed versus Easy Trail Carson. Oh, don't get me started. Who wanted guaranteed status? That said, I really like Kyle Pitts. I like Kyle Pitts too, Jason. I like Kyle Pitts too.
Yep.
I do think that that pick at 5 that Patrick mentioned, Kyle Pitts at 5 for Joe Burrow, makes a hell of a lot of sense. And reason being is he's a tight end, and he's going to be a solidified pass catcher for Joe Burrow for years to come. He's a playmaker. We all know Kyle Pitts. You'll be able to move him around, and he'll be that go-to guy. when he will need him. But
I love Kyle Pitts, and I don't think he's gonna. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be there at 6. To be honest, I mean, if you have Kyle Pitts or Penei Sewell at 6, I mean, Eagles will hop through a loop. Overjoyed they have a choice between them and the receivers and the quarterbacks. But yeah, I don't see those two guys making it past. Who did you have for your second rounder? You said you're picking
Asante.
Smith and then
I said Asante.
Okay.
You like that?
So what was it? You got Devontae Smith, Asante Samuel, and then Chasserette.
I'll go Asante or even J.C. Horn with my second.
Dude, JC's not making it down to second. I think there's a chance he goes even high as 16 to the Cardinals.
Well, and then you pull up a great point. So first, since you and I have first talked about this, I've noticed that both guys have risen in like the last week. I could see Asante going late first. I could see J.C. Horn going where you just nabbed him at. I could see that. I could see that going. I could see 4 cornerbacks going in this first round.
I'm gonna do you. I'm just to be different. I'm gonna go Jamar Chase at 6. If I were to give you my 3 picks, I'm gonna give you Jamar Chase at 6. In second, I think I go. I think I'm gonna pick either one offensive lineman. I mean, Dylan Raduns. I think he'll be a great pick for you guys from Penn State. I think he'll be available. I know it's not like a sexiest pick in the world, but I go offensive tackle there, and then third round. I think this is third round. I think you go Shaun Wade. I think he'll be available. Shaun Wade, I think, will be a pick right there for me. So, I mean, you fill all your needs. I mean, I think
as high as 37.
Right. But I think if he's available in the third round, I take him. But I mean, like I said, if a cornerback's available in the second round of the caliber, like you mentioned of Asante Samuel or J.C. Horn, if he somehow magically drops to that point, you take him there, and then it allows you to take a linebacker or a tackle in the third round. I mean, I would even consider edge rusher in the second round and third round for the Eagles too. I mean, you're going to have a lot of guys available for the second round too. I mean, Eagles are in a good spot, I think. I mean, this draft is top heavy in my opinion. So you really have to. I think that's why I say it's detrimental if Eagles make a mistake in this year's draft. It's detrimental. You can't do that this year. This year you have to.
No, they have to have a perfect
exactly.
draft.
And then it just happens that the top guys are the position of needs for the Eagles, which the Eagles have a lot.
Thank you, Patrick.
I'm not saying. I mean, you're looking at the Jets, dude. Literally, the entire team is a position of needs for the Jets.
We're well aware of that. No, I'm kidding. Jason, and I want to touch on what you just said in a second, but I want to get to this. Jason Wall says Eagles have a tight end named Dallas. Imagine 12 personnel with our other tight end named Pitts. Yeah, no, I mean, phenomenal. No, and I completely agree with you. I mean, Kyle Pitts and Dallas Goedert would be absolutely phenomenal together. I want to touch on some of the Penn State offensive linemen in this draft. So there's Michael Manet coming out of Penn State as well. He's a center / inside offensive lineman type of versatility guy that we can go ahead and grab probably in the later rounds, 5th, 6th. I like him a lot. I don't know if you know enough. I don't know if you know about him, Patrick, but he initially was listed at an offensive tackle tackle. Michael Manet, center out of Penn State.
What do you think about him?
I like him a lot. He can play all inside, and he transferred from OT to the center position either this past year or the year before.
Where's he projected to go right now?
He's going to be a late round guy, about 5 to 7. But we got Jason Kelce with the 5th round pick, I believe it was. So I have no qualms about taking one of these guys with a late round pick. That's for sure. But you know how I feel about Creed Humphrey too. So. I mean,
Creed Humphrey is going to be a stud. I mean, I'd be happy taking him. But I mean, I think the Eagles, I mean, if they can, I'd lean heavily towards offensive tackle. Positional needs, if you were to like rank them, it has to go, in my opinion, like wide receiver, cornerback, than either OT or linebacker. So I mean, I think you put center and the interior guys a little bit later on. But I mean, if you can get a guy at a good value, I mean, you definitely take him.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things I also wanted to talk about as well. Here, while I'm bringing this up, I want to bring something up for us. But while we're bringing this up, go ahead and answer this question for King, Patrick. Didn't we just sign a quarterback from the Colts? Actually, I'll take this one.
I think they claimed Shaquille Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, I think Shaquille Taylor. I think he was just claimed. I think he played with Joe Gannon, I believe. So he came out of. I think he was an undrafted free agent in the 2019 draft. So I mean, he has a lot of potential. I mean, he's gonna be coming in as a guy, you know, just fighting for a spot in the training camp. But he does have a good size, good skill sets. If anything, I mean, he's cheap, so he can be a good guy to play it in the special teams. So not a guy that I think is a potential to start opposite Slay or be a top 3 guy, but for sure have a chance at making a roster.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, no, definitely. And great point. I think he's definitely one of those guys that can probably compete for a 4th spot. Just because Jalen Mills' fate is up in the air. So we don't really know where he's going to go. I don't think that they're bringing him back at safety / cornerback. I think that was strictly a Jim Schwartz thing. I like Jalen Mills. I like Jalen Mills. I don't like Jalen Mills to the point of giving him a 4-year or a 3-year, $15 million deal. I will not do that. But I know he wants to be back in Philadelphia. But I think that they definitely need to find better guys. Avonte Maddox is going to be back, guys, so he might be a good slot corner to keep. But yeah, Shaquille Taylor will definitely be in line to compete that fourth cornerback spot for sure. And yeah, the familiarity with Jonathan Gannon is good as well. To touch on that, and I did touch on this in previous streams, is if you guys remember, Jim Schwartz brought in a couple guys that panned out that he had when he was with the Bills, when he was defensive coordinator with the Bills, Nigel Bradham. And Nigel Bradham for those first 2 years, 2016, 2017, was absolutely phenomenal and was a huge piece in that defense when we went to the Super Bowl. Jason Wall went ahead and said, I've imagined an offense with Hurts very similar to Kyler Murray style, that's tight end heavy, RPO with Hurts and Sanders and all that young speed at wide receiver. We could really surprise a lot of teams. I agree with you, Jason. I agree with you, Patrick. Let me know what you think about this, but I absolutely agree with him. I think that the Eagles have the playmakers to be able to compete. I do. Like Miles Sanders and Boston Scott, boom, backfield, fine. Offensive line needs to be fixed. Wide receivers need to get better, but there's so much speed there and there's so much potential there that it could be good. They could surprise people. Jalen Hurts could make the leap that we all want him to make, and it could turn out really well. They could surprise. Look, honestly, guys, I like Richard Rodgers. I don't like I'm cool with Richard Rodgers. I don't know why people passing on this guy. Like, he was good for Aaron Rodgers and he's been good for us when he's come in. Like, I'm like, we need to add a guy to compete for that second spot. But and I would love Kyle Pitts, but we don't need a phenomenal fucking tight end. Like, Dallas Goedert's going to be great. Or he's not going to be, I'm not going to say that, but Dallas Goedert is going to be suitable enough to take that top spot. He's already more athletic than Zach Ertz. He gets the RAC better than Zach Ertz. We just need him to run routes like Zach Ertz, and we're pretty much fucking set. But that's going to be a hard thing to do because Zach Ertz ran routes better than anybody since T.O. So, Patrick, go ahead and take this one away.
Yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen, with with Oklahoma quarterback. Like when Kyler came out, everyone compared him to Baker. When Jalen Hurts came out, everyone's going to compare him to Kyler or Baker. So they definitely do have an opportunity to be like Kyler Murray. And it's funny that Jason mentioned that tight end heavy offense because the Cardinals don't have a tight end, and I think that's where they really lack. And I think that's a position that the Cardinals would love to have Dallas or even Zach Ertz. I mean, Cardinals had, there was a rumor, right? Zach Ertz for Hassan Reddick, before Hassan Reddick took off, with his magical seasons. But
yeah,
Cardinals need that tight end. So it's funny that he mentions it because I think Kyler Murray was tight end away from taking this team to playoffs for sure. I mean, because if you pair Jalen Hurts with the number one receiver like Kyler has in DeAndre Hopkins and then some supplemental pieces, Kyler definitely had a better offensive line than Jalen Hurts did, which is essential to having that. When you're running a tight end, heavy packages too, you do need a good offensive line. I agree with you. They do have a good backfield. So I do see a lot of similarities. What made Kyler special, in my opinion, was his accuracy. His downfield accuracy. He's clean. He's a guy that can really throw down there. Kyler obviously is a little bit faster than Jalen Hurts, and he's smaller, so I mean he's going to be a little bit more elusive, more so than anything. What makes Hurts different was that what his concerns coming out of the draft. The reason why he wasn't as highly anticipated as the other guys was that he just wasn't as a good of a passer, and that they just didn't project him well as a high impact guy as the other two guys. But he proved that wrong. I mean, he showed everything that he has the right tools, right arm strength and everything to be a good passer in this league. He might not be as accurate as the other two guys right now. Mayfield is getting better as an accurate passer, but I think Hurts definitely throws better in the design rollouts, and he does have the legs to be in a similar system as Kyler Murray did. I think there are things that Jalen Hurts does much better is, throwing under pressure, as weird as it sounds. Kyler, I think, does better escaping the pressure and then taking that broken down play and extending it and then even making it into positive gains with his legs, whereas in Jalen Hurts can do that, but he's more of a guy that can extend the play and then not just rush to gain yardage, but rather to extend the play and then find a guy downfield because he can really escape the pressure and just do a really good job of extending the play and generating the chunk play outside of that structure. So I think Jalen Hurts will have a significant step forward just because his offense is going to be designed for him. He's not stepping in midseason where he's taking over Carson Wentz design offense. So if they design the plays for him, Kyler Murray might have more talent, but I think Jalen Hurts, if he were to have the design plays, design rollouts, like I said, he's going to, I feel like he even has more potential than Kyler Murray does too.
Well, we'll see about that. We will see about
yes,
that.
Yes,
sir. Jason Wall says, plus Richard Rodgers has his coolest nickname on Twitter, Dick Rod, LOL. Yeah, I mean, you can't get rid of a guy like that. So I mean, you know what, guys, we're going to go ahead. That's phenomenal. Yeah, no, you can't get rid of a guy with a Twitter handle like that. We're going to go ahead and leave it at that, guys. I'm sorry, we're not going to get to the mock draft today. But we will get to it tomorrow, probably around 3:30, 4 o'clock tomorrow. We'll do the PFF mock. Me and Patrick J, live with Patrick J. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles, live with Patrick J. And we'll talk more about prospects and things like that moving forward because, guys, guess what? We finally can just let the fucking stress roll off our backs now that we're out of the shadow of the Carson Wentz saga. He's gone, guys, no matter how we feel about it. But now we have time to do deeper dives into what the team will look like moving forward. And again, guys, if you want to go ahead and donate, please go ahead to streamlabs.com/dbtalkingnow/tip. And we do have an awesome merch store now. It is streamlabs.com/dbtalkingnow/merch. And there's just a few things on there right now, but I promise there's going to be more. There's a raincoat with extra pockets. So if you like accessories on your fucking person, you can go ahead and get the raincoat. It's pretty awesome. There's t-shirts. There's long sleeve shirts. There's tank tops. So if you like working out, you can wear the tank top and rep DB Talking Now that way. If you go to the gym, make sure you wear a face cover so you can protect yourself from the COVID. And we do have face covers, so you can even do that. You guys have a beautiful rest of your Friday evening. Please, 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 please stay safe, stay healthy. One love. Patrick J, say your goodbyes, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome, awesome. You guys, I thank you so much. You guys were awesome. Great conversations. Thank you for the contributions. It was absolutely phenomenal. I look forward to tomorrow. Stay safe, stay healthy. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. One love. Go Birds, baby.